Hello, everyone.
Welcome to the Queers of Time podcast.
I'm Matt.
I'm James.
I'm Kenny.
And I'm Kat.
And this is a podcast to talk about all the gay stuff in the Wheel of Time.
Because we're gay and we like the Wheel of Time. It's been so long, I don't remember how to do this anymore.
Oh, I got very practiced at it.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've heard you doing the outro quite a few times instead of the intro.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Queers of Time. Bye.
Bye. So as always, thank you to all fellow Venator of Surain, Lux, Charlie, and John. We very much appreciate the support. And I think that's pretty much where the end of the planification for today stops. My English is not Englishing today.
The planification? I like the planification.
There was no plan for today because the original plan was to do some fun tarot reading, but Kat is sick and Kat is kind of the expert of tarot in the podcast.
Yeah.
So while Matt knows a little bit, I think you know enough to understand what the major arcana is and to talk about that. But
I mean,
doing a reading, I don't know.
I don't know as much as Kat does, but I would prefer for Kat to be here to do a tarot.
Yeah.
Like I know the minor arcana too. Well, most of them.
It'd be like doing an episode on D&D and me and Kat not being there.
Right.
Wouldn't make sense.
No, so today is we don't even have a concept of a plan today.
Yeah, no, I actually just said, okay, let's just hit the record button and then we'll see what will happen.
And then we see what happens.
I mean, we can talk a little bit about Alexander Curry. What was the name of the guy who plays Luce Theron?
I think it's Alexander Karim.
Oh, what did he do?
He actually was on a convention in Sweden, I think. And someone asked him a question about Wheel of Time Season 3. And turns out Alexander was busy with
Gladiator 2.
Yes, with Gladiator 2 during the filming of the Wheel of Time Season 3. So he couldn't be there in person, but apparently he did some voice recording for some spooky voices
in Rand's head.
Exactly. So I'm curious to see how that will look like, or how that will sound like, I guess.
Yeah, I'm curious as to what it'll look like. If it'll look like similar to Logain's Madness in season 1? Is that it? Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
It's been so long. I'm still figuring out what I'm going to do for JordanCon this year because I don't know when season 3 is going to come out. I don't think it'll come out before JordanCon, but
who knows? There hasn't been much news about the Wheel of Time in the past few months, which is also why we haven't done like an episode about Wheel of Time news. Amazon didn't do anything regarding Wheel of Time at New York Comic Con or San Diego Comic Con. At the same time, they didn't do much for New York Comic Con. They did I think 2 or 3 panels on new things, but they didn't even have a panel for Rings of Power.
Yeah.
So it feels like their optic is very much to promote new thing rather than promote older stuff. So
Fuck capitalism.
we know they're going to be in... So Amazon is going to be at a convention in Brazil, I think, in December.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been there for a few different years, and there have been some Wheel of Time related content in the past. So we'll see whether they bring something there or not. Yeah, there's not much to talk about Wheel of Time in general.
Yeah, I'm just sort of like I'm in my low, like not as Wheel of Time-ish era. Like I've been going to used bookstores and like trying to get like the old paperbacks with the pretty covers on them, but that's the extent that I think of Wheel of Time these days, unless I'm reading for an episode. There's just so much going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all a little distracted with the U.S. election.
Yeah, so to give context, because that episode will come out in a few weeks, we are 2 days before the US election. I'm glad I'm not in the US anymore. I'm going to be honest.
Brag about it, why don't you?
Yes, I gotta have to. Like, literally, I was on a work trip in the US a few weeks ago, and some colleagues were like, okay, but like, why did you move to the UK? Why didn't you like the US? I'm like, do I really need to do a PowerPoint to explain it to you, or
do I need to explain, or does it make enough sense just looking at the state of the world? Yeah.
We're sort of the meth lab in the neighborhood of the world, to be honest. I mean,
we are the meth lab of the world.
Maybe, I don't know. There's some funny meme on like social media that's like, oh, it's like your nice neighborhood, and it's too bad that you're like sitting over a meth lab or something like that. I don't know. It was funny. It was funny in context. Like, I'm never as good at repeating things that I see online and making them as funny as they were to me. But
yeah,
who knows? Maybe it won't be bad. After the Iowa poll, people are freaking out on the right. So
I am optimistic. If it doesn't turn out well, I will cut this. If it stays in the podcast, then I can say I predicted everything going okay.
Oh my gosh.
That's my power. I do the post-production. Other than that, what else happened? Well, we had quite a long time without Matt and I recording. I know you recorded a week ago for The Gathering Storm, but for me, it's been since August, so I don't know to do that anymore. It's very interesting. I hope, James, you had a nice time with Rings of Power.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed listening to your episode, at least.
I mean, Rings of Power, Season 2 was much better than Season 1. I still think they get the character of Galadriel, like, fundamentally wrong, but they're getting it somewhat less wrong in Season 2. So that's good.
It's actually a good time to bring that I went to London last week for a play, which was led by Morpeth Clark. Play Galadriel. So I got to see her in a play in London, and she was great. It was a very interesting play, kind of a vibe of rural England in the 1950s. With she was playing the youngest daughter who left a rural town to go to London to follow a boy, and now is coming back home about like a few days before her boyfriend go home to meet the family, and she's very much the rural girl who went to the city and now is complaining about everything in the rural place. Morpeth Clark was excellent. No doubt about that. I had thought about the play, but it was good. I liked it.
Nice.
I like being close to London for that.
Nice. Yeah, I see you and Charlie both posting a whole bunch of stuff on social media about the plays that you guys go to, and I'm just like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That seems fun.
Yeah, it does seem fun.
I've been listening to The Shadow Rising narrated by Rosamund Pike, and I really enjoy all of her accents except for the Aiel one because it's slightly Russian.
No.
Okay.
That's weird.
It's like, oh no, I'm gonna butcher it, but Avienda is just like, I don't know how you do this to me. Why do you do this?
In Soviet waste, the waste wastes you.
She's actually not the first person I hear doing a Russian accent for the Aiel, because on the Will Takes podcast, I'm pretty sure Gus, sometimes he reads like passages of the books and do a bit of accents for them. And I'm pretty sure his Aiel version was kind of Russian.
Yeah, it was just, none of the other accents that Rosamund Pike does in The Shadow Rising are like I don't hear her doing like an Italian accent or like obviously she's doing a British accent because she's British, but or like a Norwegian accent or like a Swedish accent or something. Like, it's always just a variation on British, and
typical fantasy.
Which is, I mean, I don't mind because she does vary it up a little bit, but it's just so jarring whenever one of the Aiel speak, because it's like, I just listened to this passage when they're in the Stone of Tyr and Fael like chases after Berelain with a knife, and then who is it? Ruark has to break them up, and he's like, I told you to hold the piece in the stone. It's a hard-won piece in the stone, and I will not have you breaking it.
That's weird.
And I'm just like, okay, Boris and Natasha.
And then like, it's a me, Berelain.
It's me, Mario.
Berelain.
I mean, I really love Rosamund Pike's narrations. I don't It is one of the 2 books that I have done on audiobook, or like 2 narrators that I like on audiobooks. The other one is Andy Serkis.
I listen to a lot of audiobooks, but I generally prefer voice actors. Like, don't get me wrong, Rosamund Pike is amazing and objectively talented, but I slightly prefer Michael and Kate's audiobook narration, which I think is generally it's not a very controversial opinion to like Rosamund or Michael and Kate.
I mean, I don't like Michael and Kate, but that's because I don't like any narrators.
Oh.
Like, it's nothing against Michael and Kate. It's just against the audiobook. Like, I don't... The exception, it's an exception to the rule that I like Andy Serkis and I like Rosamund Pike.
So what book in particular was Andy Serkis? Is that...
Lord of the Rings.
Oh, Lord of the Rings. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't do audiobooks. I don't think I've ever done an audiobooks, so I couldn't tell.
I just have like this auditory processing thing, and unless I really, 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 really love the narrator, like it just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah. Like the only thing I'm listening in audio is like there's a few like RPG podcasts that I listen to, but at least like it's multiple people talking to each other, and I do zone out a few times, but usually it's not particularly important. It's like during combat or something like that. So it's fine if I miss part of it. I feel like with a book, I would be lost so quickly, and I don't have the time to be 100 focused on, like, if I had to be 100, like, if I had to be focused enough to follow a book through audio, I would have to literally be doing nothing than listening to that books. And in that case, might as well just read a physical version.
Yeah, I think that's what it might be for me too. Like my brain goes in like a million different directions if I'm listening to audiobooks just by itself. Like I start thinking of every other thing, and then I realize it's been like 10 minutes and I haven't listened to anything.
I can't like sit in my living room and listen to audiobooks. I have to either be on a walk, on a jog, or driving in the car. And I only listen to like YA audiobooks. Like that's how I get my queer YA fix, is through that, because I cannot do literary fiction or classics or fantasy, like anything that's long via audiobook, because I just listen to it in like hour-long spurts. So it takes me like a month and a half, 2 months to get through an 11-hour audiobook.
Right.
And I'm just not going to do, like, I'm not going to listen to the Wheel of Time audiobooks. I enjoy Michael and Kate's narration during the WatCon dinners, because you get to listen to flicker flicker as you cut into your chicken, and your mashed taters precious. So, but yeah. Your mileage may vary depending on processing and such.
I'm trying to think, like, what else are we currently reading? What are you currently reading, Matt? You're always reading.
I am currently finishing Dante's Divine Comedy. I am in Paradise, which is very boring. It's very beautiful language, but it's full of very holy people that are boring and just singing to God and stuff. Inferno was much more fun. There was like whips and chains in the Inferno. What was that old song? Sticks and stones don't break my bones, but whips and chains excite me. Was that Rihanna?
Yeah.
Okay. Yay, I knew a pop culture reference. Yay.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very proud. I'd like to thank all of my 2 fans, being myself and my mother.
I was like, who was going to be your second fan? Because that sure wasn't going to be me.
Yeah, no, I know.
Oh my goodness.
No one likes me, I get it.
I'm kidding.
What else am I reading? Mostly horror. I read a lot of horror this October. And some of it was good and some of it was okay. But I don't have my phone with me right now because I try to be a good millennial and not look at it when I'm recording, so I don't have the list of the books that I've read.
That's okay.
Oh, I'm currently checking. I'm reading a few different things at the same time, but also some of them are just...
I should be reading Trailer Park Boys or Prince.
Yes, you should, because we are going to have to talk about that, and that's going to be an interesting conversation. I have many thoughts.
Did you finish it, Camille?
I have 10% left. There's like a few chapters.
I also have 10%. I have 9% left, and I'm like, do I have to?
Yeah, I'm going to finish it because I want to see how it lands. But I need to write an essay before we record that on what went okay and what didn't.
Right.
Because I don't want to, like, I didn't particularly enjoy it, but I don't want to do like stupid trashing of it. I want to kind of explain what worked for me and what didn't. To have kind of a justification.
Which is a good way to do it.
Yeah. Because I don't think it's like a trash book. I just think it could have been better.
Yeah, that's about how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I'd have to obviously read it, which I have it downloaded. I should actually start reading that tonight. That's what I'll do. I've mostly been watching movies. Like, I've been getting back into movies lately.
So I'm not allowed to talk about the books I'm reading right now?
Yes, you're allowed to talk about the books that you
sorry.
want to read.
No, I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
No, I wasn't done. There's this one that I've been reading. There's The Gathering Storm, of course. I'm currently reading The Crystal Shard. I don't know whether you've ever read A. Salvador. It's a lot of Dungeon and Dragon books.
Heard of them.
And I mean, they're old books around Druid Storyden, my favorite dark elf ever. And those books were kind of out of production for a while, and they're doing new edition. Like the first 2 trilogy came out like this year. The next one's coming out next year or something like that. And there's like 40 books on that stupid elf. So yeah, I'm kind of taking the opportunity of like those new edition to get back into it, because I know I've read some of them when I was a kid in French. I've never read them in English, and they're pretty easy read mostly. On top of that, I have like 2 RPG books technically. Like I'm reading the rules of Blades in the Dark and the rule of D&D 5e, this kind of thing. And I haven't
the new one or
no, the last one, like the 5e, the original 5e. I still haven't looked into buying the updated version.
Yeah, I just bought the DMG for the Dungeon Master's Guide for the updated version. I need to read it.
Yeah, I've bought a lot of D&D books and then never used it, so I'm kind of trying to read, like take a look at the ones that I've got so far. Especially since I know I'm not playing D&D, I'm playing Blades in the Dark, which is a different RPG. It's a fun one. We're basically criminal in a dark world, trying to deal with magics and spirits and guns sometimes. We're gun dealers. Yeah. And I also have How to ADHD book by Jessica McCabe, because I'm trying to learn about myself. Yeah. So
Nice.
yeah, I have a bunch of books in progress. I need to. There's so many books I want to read through that. Yeah, I need to focus a little bit. I've recently read a T.J. Klune book, Under the Whispering Door.
Mm-hmm.
That one was cute. That was a good book. I really enjoyed that.
I haven't read any T.J. Klune, but I've heard good things about it.
He's good.
Well, I keep hearing about the House on Cerulean Sea.
I've bought that one. I haven't read it yet.
House on the Cerulean Sea is so good. It fixed some of, like, if I had just been a little bit anxietied and I read House on the Cerulean Sea, it would have cured my mental illness and I wouldn't have to be on like meds anymore. But, you know, since I am like pretty deep in the GAD, I can't just not do therapy and meds. Anyways, it's a good book. It's a very good book.
It's funny because like the Under the Whispering Door, the only reason I bought it is because I was stuck in an airport. I think it was while trying to go to Malkericon in Prague, because my flight got cancelled and then I had to wait for another one like 5 hours later. And there was a pretty big bookshop in the airport and it had that one. I was trying to find like gay books in the bookshop. So I started it in the airport, and when I read the back cover, I was concerned it was going to be depressing, because the starting point is that there's this sad man who, I mean, he had a life, but I don't think he was living it. And that guy just died from heart attack, and now he's a ghost, and he has to figure out how to go to the other side. And I thought it was going to be like deep into feelings and deep into, like a bit, I mean, you're talking about death. It's hard to talk about death in a way that is not depressing sometimes.
Yeah.
But no, it was in fact like pretty funny, pretty well done, pretty, I don't know, a good vibe book, and really had a great time with it.
Yeah, TJ Klune's great. House on the Cerulean Sea is like reading a warm hug. I'm like, I'm convinced that you cannot read that book without it somewhat improving your mental health or your mental state, at least at the time. Obviously, nothing cures depression or anxiety magically, but like it has some healing abilities to it that that I've yet to hear anybody who's read the book and did not feel healed or hugged some way by it. It's just so good.
Oh, apparently there's a sequel too. Just came out.
Yeah, I haven't read that. I'm not sure if I'm going to because the first was just so perfect that I don't feel like I need to read the rest of the story in case it's like not as good as the original.
Right.
Can wait a little bit for other people to read it, and if they say it's decent, maybe take a shot at it.
Yeah.
It has just as good reviews on Goodreads, but fewer reviews, but good.
Well, that's good.
Anyway.
What else can we talk about? So yeah, you were talking about movie. What are you watching these days?
Well, I mostly watched horror movies, and I watched Skinamarink, and I liked it a lot, even though it's a movie that's definitely not for everybody.
Skinamarink?
Yes. It is a horror movie about two kids who are in their house, and one night their father disappears, and all the windows and doors in their house disappears, and it's dark. It's a very experimental movie, and it was creepy, but I acknowledge that it's not a movie for everybody. I also watched Deadstream, which was about a cishet white guy streamer who gets canceled because he smuggled himself over the Mexican border as a joke. So to reclaim his influencer cred, he spends the night in a haunted house and gets his ass beat by angry witch ghosts, and it's amazing. It's a horror comedy.
Okay.
So if you want to see an obnoxious white guy get his ass beat, it's a really good movie. What else? I haven't watched a lot of gay movies recently, but oh no, I watched All of Us Strangers, and it was so good. Did I talk about that? I'm not sure if I've talked about All of Us Strangers. It's with Andrew Scott, the gay Irishman, and Paul Mescal.
What's the title you say?
All of Us Strangers.
Ah.
It's about a gay man whose parents are dead. They died when he was 12, but he randomly goes to his house, his childhood home one day, and finds his parents as they were when he was a kid, waiting for him alive, and it's weird and trippy, and it will give you many emotions, so just be forewarned if you do watch it. It's a great queer movie, and it's very emotions. I'm not doing words well today. The time change has really fucked with my head.
Oh, I loved it this morning, and the time just changed in the US, and I was like, I woke up at like 6:45, and I was like, wow, I feel really refreshed.
See, I didn't get to experience that because for us, the time changed like a week ago, but I came back from the US the Saturday, like mid-afternoon, and with time, like jet lag and this kind of thing, I couldn't fall asleep. So I basically fell asleep on like the night between Saturday and Sunday at like 3 a.m. But technically the time had already changed. So I didn't even got to sleep an hour more technically because the time had already changed by the time I fell asleep. Anyway.
I don't know how you stay up that late.
Brain was not okay.
Okay.
It's because basically like 4 a.m. in the UK was the equivalent of like 8 p.m. in the US, like in San Francisco. So I was just going on with my day.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I recovered after that. It was just a bit weird the first few days.
Just a what?
A bit weird the first few days.
Yeah, I don't know. Are we? Yeah. The world is just so flicker right now. The transcription is not going to pick that up. I am sorry. I'm just very...
What transcription?
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
I'm curious as to what the next few days are going to look like.
I have a hopeful feeling that it will be fine and that the Iowa poll, which did not give the Trump handicap thing like all the other pollsters are doing, is probably more accurate because that pollster is known for being laser accurate. Hoping that it shows trends that we are going to have a blowout in our favor and not have to worry about the next 4 years. Either way, this bitch ain't going to work on Wednesday. I can't.
It's funny because there's been We are recording pretty much like a week or two after the big switch from Twitter to Blue Sky due to Musk changing the mute, like the block situation. And I can already notice how less angry Blue Sky is making me. There's a bit less politics than I used to see on Twitter, but also like Twitter was making money off people getting angry at each other and shouting at each other. So that didn't help.
I mean, it still is.
It still is, but I'm less there anymore. And yeah, there was I think it was Brie talking about that poll, or maybe she retweeted it or answered the comment or answered the thread, or I don't know. But it was mostly about how a lot of pollsters are maybe not capturing well the vote of women, especially older women, and how a lot of men are underestimating maybe the potential impact on Roe versus Wade on the election. So I'm hoping that this is right and that women won't vote against their right for once.
Right.
So like, the polls didn't count the quiet Trump voters in 2016, but as we all know, Trump voters are not quiet anymore. They are loud, they are obnoxious, they are deranged beyond all comprehensions of sanity, and they're evil. But like in 2020, Trump was underestimated again, or it wasn't that, it was more like Democrats were overcounted because people who are center to left are more likely to stay home and mask and be vaccinated and be available to answer the phones. So like the pollsters are like, oh, we have to correct for the Trump vote. So like all these pollsters and Nate Silver, the charlatan, have been basically accounting for Trump voters in their polls. And if you don't do that, she would be ahead in pretty much everything. So yeah, the thought is that the polls are underestimating Democrats because, and they're underestimating Republicans that are planning on voting for her. Like the Iowa poll that was released yesterday accounted for that, and like 5% of Republicans said they were voting for her, like definitely voting for her or had voted for her. So maybe I'll eat my words in a few days, but I'm pretty sure that the race is not as close as the media is making it out to be, because when they make it out to be close, they get more clicks and they get more people freaking out and clicking on their articles more and more. So I say that because I have freaked out a lot over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And clicked on their stupid things.
Not saying, you've been freaking out a lot. That wasn't what I was saying. I was just
It's okay.
I was saying, it's just been...
I mean, it's been tense. It's normal to be anxious about that. It's a perfectly normal reaction. In my company it's mostly US based company, so they had like a workshop with mental health professional and this kind of thing to talk about an election related anxiety, because it's a normal thing, and it's hard to keep on going when there's so much noise in the world.
Right.
Yeah, it really is.
So
I don't know how I'm going to be functional for the next 2 days at work, but
same.
We'll manage somehow.
And I am not. So I'm watching the election results with a friend because I can't not watch the election results. Like I have some friends who are like, I'll just look in tomorrow or the next day. I'm like, okay, well, you do not have you are in a much more privileged place and it doesn't affect you as much. I cannot help but watching the election results. Like I literally will not be able to think of anything else. So I'm watching with a friend on Tuesday night, and I'm not going into the office on Wednesday.
I just plan on getting updates through group chats because I know my group chats are going to be super active.
Oh, yeah.
On election night. And I'm just going to be like, okay, cool. This is what I'm doing. This is fine.
Yeah.
Maybe I will watch some election results, but I need to find a outlet that doesn't freak me out and isn't sensationalist.
If it starts being a bloodbath in Harris's favor, I'm sure that we are all going to be watching like with absolute glee.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
I hope it is.
When would the first result come out?
Sometime in the evening, like 6 or 7 o'clock my time.
Yeah, when do polls close on election day?
I guess it depends on the state. Some close later than others.
like California is the last of the night.
It just whether I'm gonna start seeing some result before I go to sleep, or whether I'll have to wake up early and see what's going on there.
Oh, you'll probably have to wake up early. It won't be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of them close at 9 p.m., 9 or 10 p.m. So, yeah, you might see some East Coast stuff before you go to bed, but...
Yeah, if it's a blowout, we'll know pretty early on, relatively in the election night. But if the polls are accurate and the swing states are like neck and neck, we might not know until the next day, though. I do know that most of the states have changed how they count and verify early ballots. So like Pennsylvania in 2020, they could not even start verifying ballots until the polls closed. So like they couldn't even start counting the early votes or mail-ins until polls closed. But this year they are allowed to start counting at 7 a.m. the morning of. So they'll be doing that while people are voting in person. So we should have results quicker because God help me, I cannot do another week-long election results thing.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that was the worst part of 2020.
Oh, it was a nightmare.
I was there. I remember that. I remember, I have vivid memory of the 2016 election because I remember being still a student and, in California, watching the results as they were coming on. I was just in my bedroom back then, and I think, in the middle of the evening, I was like, no, I can't keep watching that. I'm gonna go. I did a spin cycle class, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came back, Trump had won, so it wasn't great.
And then you never went to spin class again.
No, I didn't.
That was one of the worst nights of my life.
Yeah, it's as a stranger who came to the US under Obama and being in pretty liberal California, I was in the Bay Area, so except for the very rich people like Musk, it's a lot of people more towards the left, I guess. But wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, no, I can count the number of really bad days in my life, and the 2016 election day was one of it's definitely the top of the list of things that were not personal to me, deaths or accidents or things like that. It's the top of the list of worst day in my life of something that was not personal to me. It's not number one because personal family deaths are obviously way more than that, but still, right. God help me, I do not want a repeat of that. So I'm going to be watching with a friend.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And hopefully celebrating.
Might as well not be alone. It's gonna be okay.
It's all gonna be okay.
It'll be fine.
It's gonna be fine.
Did you see Kamala on Saturday Night Live?
Yes, it was so funny.
It was cute.
I didn't, but people keep talking to me about that.
It was cute. I just watched the clip this morning. Let's see, what else is there? I picked up a really cool edition of Lord of the Rings that comes with a reader's companion.
Ooh.
I bought it mostly for the reader's companion because I was curious as to what was in there. And I'm excited to go get it out.
That's interesting. That's like those old classical book when there's a reader explanation on the next page.
Yeah, it's basically by two Tolkien scholars that go chapter by chapter and kind of what is involved in it. So, and it was a box set and it was pretty, so I got it.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah, right as well. Pretty books are good for the mental health.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. You gotta know how to enjoy yourself and... Am
I gonna read it anytime soon? Probably not, but...
Yeah, I still have the Silmarillion, the fancy Silmarillion that I've not read yet. It's on my shame pile list, which is what I call my to-be-read list, or my TBR as Book Talk calls it.
Can I have a shame bookshelf?
Yeah, I have a shame bookshelf.
Because half of my books are unread.
Okay, to be very clear, the shame pile is named as such because it was a small pile of books. It is no longer a pile. I've had to just shelve them. It is currently I think I'm at 78 books that I have not yet read. It is much more than a pile, but it's just the name is just there for the memory because it used to be an actual pile and then it got to be too much.
Yeah, no, one of my goals this year was to read close to as many books as I was buying, and I think I bought like a bit more than 50 books and read 25 of them. So I'm not there. I'm definitely not there.
I like how in this episode we've talked about books and the US election.
Well, yeah, I mean, we love books, and the election is like really close, so
Yeah.
it's like...
Yeah, I could talk about. We were talking about movie. What I watched recently, because there's only two things that I've watched in the past few months. There's Rings of Power, of course, and The Legend of Vox Machina, and that was good too. I really like the new season. If people are into adult animation, so they're pretty good. Really had a fun time, and it's another Amazon show. And also for people freaking out about the Wheel of Time, Critical Role is a well-known name, and like Legend of Vox Machina was on its third season, and they have a season planned for another show related to that. And they still had to wait until the end of season 3 to renew for season 4.
Yeah.
So it's not a Wheel of Time thing.
Yeah, I think Amazon is just being careful with what they're doing, but I think Amazon is going to renew season 4 of Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that.
I can't see it not happening.
The thing I've most recently watched is Agatha All Along, which I know all of the lesbians on Twitter are losing their minds about.
Good for the lesbians.
I've seen that. I haven't watched because I don't have Disney Plus.
Oh.
I've considered, but I don't have the time.
Yeah, I deleted my Disney Plus.
I only have Prime Video for now, so.
Okay, I'm the one here with all of the subscription services.
I purged most of my subscription services a few weeks ago. Like, I purged Disney Plus. I only kept Hulu because it streams 911 and I have to watch that show. I purged Netflix. I purged Paramount Plus, HBO. I kept Hulu and I kept Amazon Prime because it's Prime and I have it for like shipping stuff even though I don't use it that much.
Right.
And then I added the Criterion channel, which is great because it's only $10 a month and no ads. And I hate ads so much.
I checked for the Criterion, but it's only in the US, unfortunately.
Which is stupid. It's like, given how much international...
Yeah, but like it makes sense because international, like for movies, rights are different based on the country. So it's still a small thing. So I'm assuming is they probably just have right for the US. I was checking because they also sell DVD and Blu-ray, and most of their movie are not available in the UK, for example, except for a few for which they have right both in the UK and in the US. So
yeah, I guess that's right. It's a shame because
it's mostly a right issue.
I'm a big advocate of like, yes, we love the Wheel of Time, we're gay and we love the Wheel of Time, but like I'm a big advocate of reading like not just US and Europe centric or just not English centric books and shows. And Criterion Channel has like exposed me to like French movies, Korean, Vietnamese, like Nigerian. There's a movie on my list, I think it's Angola maybe. It like just movies from literally all over the world and not just like US Hollywood. So I am a big advocate of, expanding your horizons, and it's helped me to do that. So that's why I'm happy.
So I was checking their website, and on their website they have a few video of, celebrities going there and picking out movies among some of their huge selection. And I really like those video because I only watch a few, but it's a nice way to discover a movie you probably wouldn't check otherwise, while having a small description of it. Okay, I enjoyed this movie for this thing, and I found that interesting. I don't remember which video I was watching.
They have like a sort of a reputation for only doing like intellectual art house movies, but they're literally releasing Godzilla this week. So
yeah, it seems like there's a pretty good diversity of movies.
Yeah. So last night I watched a David Cronenberg movie with a Criterion Blu-ray of Videodrome, and it was so gross. It was disgusting, but I love David Cronenberg, so...
I don't know who that is.
Have you ever watched The Fly with, oh my god, Jeff Goldblum?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, that's his most well-known. He basically did a bunch of body horror. He also did the movie Scanners, which has that scene that is basically a meme of this guy's head blowing up.
Okay.
But like he did a lot of, or does a lot of like body horror and stuff like that. It's really gross. I love it.
It's really gross. I love it.
It's really gross. I love it.
That's a vibe, I guess.
It's 2024. I gotta take my joys where I can.
It's almost 2025. Isn't that great?
Anyway,
thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Queers of Time. We hope you had a wonderful time listening to us talk about politics and movies and books.
it was fun. Hopefully next time you have something to celebrate.
Yes.
Yeah. See you next time. I mean, you haven't finished the outro, but basically you can find us.
Oh, okay. You can find us everywhere online if you just search for that Wheel of Time podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say that gay people podcast, but that's not quite right. We aren't the only gay people podcast out there.
Just the best.
You can also find us on Patreon if you want to support us there. That would be wonderful. We would really love it. And yeah, our Discord is popping. So head over there if you want to chat with us.
Yeah, we talk books and we talk a bunch of other different things.
All right. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Thank you all for listening. This was Queers of Time, a Wheel of Time podcast. The music is Dance of the Witches by Julius H.